Hey guys, it's TSS here, and today we're going to be reviewing Titanfall. Now, if you don't know what Titanfall is and you've maybe been living under a rock for the past year and a half or so, then Titanfall is that fast-paced first-person shooter that everyone's been calling for since the release of Modern Warfare 3, which is when, in my opinion, the Call of Duty series started to turn stale and get extremely boring and repetitive. Now, this game has been in development for 4 years, which is around the same amount of time that GTA 5 was in development for, which shows that this game has had an incredible amount of detail put into it, and a lot of time has been spent making sure this game is fit for launch, unlike Battlefield 4 and many other similar titles that EA publish. And just to give you a quick insight before we start the review, this game has been rated 89 on Metacritic for PC, which is above the rating of Call of Duty 4, which shows that this game, well, a lot of people like it will say that, because in my opinion COD 4 was the most, or is just generally the best first person shooter and generally best Call of Duty game ever made, in my opinion, and many of my friends' opinions as well. Also, the game has sold 700,000 copies, which is nearly a third of all Xbox One owners, which, just to give you an insight, is a huge amount, bearing in mind there are probably quite a few old people that have bought it as an entertainment system, and probably a lot of kids have bought it as well, because obviously, you know, they can play Crash Bandicoot or something on it, which is obviously an amazing game. Everyone loves a bit of Crash Bandicoot. But that shows that a whole lot of people have pretty much bought the Xbox One mainly for Titanfall. And if you want even more proof of that, Titanfall has boosted the Xbox One sales in the UK by 96%, which is absolutely ridiculous. That means that once Titanfall was launched, sales went up by 96%. That's a crazy amount. But yeah, let's get on with the actual review. Now, I'm probably going to start off by saying some nice things, then I'm going to go on to what I dislike about the game. Bearing in mind, this is an honest review. I'm not going to be sitting here and I'm not going to be paid by EA or anything to say just nice things. I want to give you guys a proper review, a proper should you buy it or not, because obviously I've had a decent amount of gameplay with this game. I'm not going to go into detail on how much I played it for, because we don't need to cover that. Yeah. This game is very enjoyable in my opinion, and we'll probably finish on a good note as well, because obviously you can't end on a downer. But my favourite thing about this game is the skill gap that it involves. You can clearly tell a good player from a bad player in this game. A good player will make use of all the wall running. He'll know exactly where to go and know all the quickest routes to get from point A to point B. Whereas a noob or a, just generally not very good player will tend to be very grounded and almost play it like Call of Duty or Battlefield, where you kind of sit in a certain area and just try and patrol it and make sure that you kill everyone that's walking around in it. Which can work, but at the same time you're not going to be doing very well as a general rule. And this skill gap is one of the things that's going to keep me coming back to this game for years to come. And I say years, bearing in mind I don't expect Titanfall 2 to be released anytime next year, so I think I'll be playing this for a very good amount of time. But the skill gap means that I'm always going to be getting better at this game. I'm not going to be sitting there, I'm not going to have learnt everything in the space of a month, and then in 2 months time I've learnt everything there is to know and then just not enjoy it anymore. I will always be coming back to this game because I know that I can improve. So for example, I had 16 hours gameplay in the beta alone. Now, the reason I was able to play that much without getting bored was because every single game I played, I found a little route that would take me from point A to point B quicker, and therefore get me a lot of kills. So right at the start of the match, I'd always go this same route, and occasionally mix it up and then maybe find a quicker route. And then all of a sudden I'd be in their spawn straight away, and then they wouldn't be able to stop me because I'd be right up behind them and I'd be killing everyone. And that's that sort of thing, that sort of map knowledge that will allow you to be good at the game and to want to improve and to generally just be a beast within this game. So I'm going to be honest with you guys here. The first 5 or 6 matches that I played of this game, I didn't really enjoy. I thought it was just generally quite boring. I didn't really know why I was so hyped up about it. Bearing in mind, after the beta, I was desperate for this game to launch, and I was sitting there waiting for it. And as soon as I got back, as soon as I was able to play it, I was just absolutely ecstatic. And then I played my first match, and I didn't really enjoy it. But then the more I played, the more that skill gap became apparent to me, and then the more I got better at the wall running and that sort of thing. And now all of a sudden, I love this game. This game is just brilliant. It's just the best game I've ever played. It's better than COD 4 in my opinion, which is absolutely, I never thought I'd ever say that about a game, but now I have. And that's why it really does annoy me when people sit there and they say, oh, I played this game for 15 minutes, then I put it down because I didn't like it very much. You can't judge a game after playing it for 15 minutes. That's not enough time to get used to it. not many games are you going to enjoy for the first match that you play, bearing in mind, you know, you're not going to be very good at it for the first few matches, and you generally enjoy games that you're doing well at. And if you're not doing well at a game, then chances are, you know, you're not going to like it. And secondly, this game is much more than just COD with mechs. I mean, a lot of people who just take a glance at it and watch a few videos on YouTube seem to think this game is COD with mechs. It's it's really fast paced, and you know, you shoot guns at people, and you know, it's just got mechs in it. That's all it's different. No, it's just like, you know, you have your dad that just like looks over your shoulder and he says, "Oh, why do you want to buy a different one? It looks all the same every single year. Oh, there's no point spending 50 quid on this game because this is the same as the last one you had." But you know fully well the difference between the two games is more than enough to warrant paying 50 quid for, even bearing in mind it's the update of the game, it's the newest one, it's got much more, a few more additions. But things like that you don't notice until you start to play it and you start to work out what's different. Whereas just from a glance they all look the same because you're all behind a gun in every single first person shooter. So please do not say that this game is COD with mechs, because it is just really irritating when people say that, because fact is it isn't. That's just a blatant lie, and if you say that then you clearly haven't played it for any more than 15 minutes. Now, one thing that a lot of people were worrying about was how much replayability this game would have. And I was kind of worrying about that as well. I was a bit uncertain about how long I thought I'd be playing this game for, but I can safely say now that I will be playing this game for a good amount of time. I mean, as I said earlier, there's a skill gap involved, that's one of the things. And then also there's the fact that with the season pass, which is a very, very reasonable 20 quid, yeah, 20 quid, that's nothing for a season pass, bearing in mind the Call of Duty season pass is like, what, 40 quid, and the Battlefield Premium, that's around 40 quid as well. That's just, in my opinion, that's a brilliant deal. 20 quid for 3 DLC packs. I mean, we don't know what's going to be coming in them yet. Obviously, they could be just single maps in it. They could just be releasing 3 maps, but I doubt they do that, because I don't know, I like Respawn, I like the people who've made Titanfall, they seem like good guys. But, as I said, that's very reasonable, and having a DLC pack, a season pass of 3 different map packs throughout the year, that will greatly increase the lifespan of this game, because if I get bored of playing the maps that are out now, which I very much doubt, bearing in mind there are 15 of them, and I rarely play each one of them for more than, you know, it's a 1 in 15 chance of playing each map. So, with more maps to play, that should greatly increase the longevity of this game, and I should be playing it for a lot more time than I will be playing it now, bearing in mind that the whole map aspect and the way that you can learn the maps is one of the biggest things about this game's replayability, and if there are more of them throughout the year, that's going to increase it even further, and I know that I'll be enjoying this game for a long time to come because of it. So now let's get on to some of the bad things, and some of the things that I dislike about this game. Now, this game doesn't have a campaign. Now, this doesn't really bother me too much, I won't lie, I'm not really much of a campaign guy, bearing in mind you usually spend about 4 hours on the campaign and then like 200 hours on the multiplayer of a game, so for me not having a campaign means nothing, so I don't really care about that. But if you like the campaign, then that can be a downside to you, because there is no offline mode, which means that obviously if servers come down like they did a few days ago, you won't be able to play it, which is obviously a very bad thing. But at the same time, you know what, I'd much rather than to polish up the game, make sure it's bug free, than to stick a campaign in there, so that doesn't really bother me too much. But then the next bad thing is that there are very few weapons in the game. There are only 10 pilot weapons in this game, which, yeah, that's not very many. That means you don't really have many options to play with and that sort of thing. But that again doesn't bother me too much either, bearing in mind this game is very well balanced and polished, and it seems to work with 10 weapons, you know, unlike in Battlefield 4 where there's like hundreds of them, hundreds of weapons that no one ever bothers using because they're all just not even contenders in comparison to some of the other ones. All of these weapons have a place in the game. I mean, you often see people running around the R101C carbine, that is sort of like the main weapon people use, but they're all balanced. Every single gun in this game has its place, and every one of them will be used. But I will consider that to be a bad thing, bearing in mind that it doesn't allow you to have very much customization options. Now, the third thing that I would say is a bad thing is that the insane texture resolution quality on the game is recommended for you to have 3 GB of GPU RAM. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't know many people who have 3 GB of GPU RAM. I mean, I have a very beastly GPU. I have a GTX 760. That's only got 2 GB of RAM, which means that if I look in a certain place where there's too many textures on the screen at once, I get a humongous frame rate drop. which is really annoying, and it means I can't really play on insane graphics settings, which is a bit of a shame for me. Now lastly, I know that I did say that the game is very well balanced in general, but there are a few exceptions to that. Like, the worst thing in this game is arc mines in CTF. Arc mines are like claymores, but you can't see them, because in this game you're too focused on running around and sprinting everywhere, so you don't have time to think about, oh, is there an arc mine on that flag, should I go and capture it? So people just throw them on the flag, and then you run over them to pick up the flag, and then you're dead instantly. And it happens every single bloody game, and it makes it impossible to play and enjoy, which I really don't like. On top of that, the Kraber, which is the sniper rifle, the bolt action, that's also a bit OP in my eyes, because it's very annoying when you get one-shotted, and because generally not anything you can do about it. There's nothing you can do to combat, getting one-shotted. Even though you got 3 of your bullets on target, that guy just got 1 of them, which means that you've then died, which is just really annoying to me. And my god, I've said annoying quite a lot of times. Now, a lot of people thought the smart pistol was going to be OP, but I'm going to go out there and say no, it's not. And if you want to know why, you can check out my video, but I'm not going to bother saying another video, because I've already made one, and that was beta footage, but it's exactly the same in the full release, so I don't really need to remake that video. So if you want to check that video out, that will be in the description below. Now, in my eyes, this game is absolutely phenomenal. I love it to bits. I think it's going to be the best game of 2014. I hope it gets Game of the Year. I really do, because I think it deserves it more than any game out there at the minute. Now, this game is just generally a pleasure to play. I haven't rage quit once in all of the hours I've played it, which is just unheard of in a game. I rage quit in Battlefield. I used to rage quit in Call of Duty when I played it. I don't play Call of Duty now because everyone knows COD Ghost is absolutely awful, and why do they even bother making that game? But if you own either an Xbox One or an Xbox 360 or a PC, I would have no problem with saying that you should definitely go out and buy this game. I think it's just beyond a doubt worth the amount of money that it costs in your area. I think I'd pay any money for this game. I just think it's absolutely ridiculous. I just think it's so well made. There are hardly any glitches in it, and I know I'll be playing this game for a long time to come. Tell me what you think in the comments, but for now I've been TSS, and goodbye.